Hi, and welcome to Summit Safety Climbing Safety webinar. We're here at Ramble Gear Trader today. First, we're going to tell you what we're going to be covering. Today, we'll go over climbing equipment, knots and hitches, climbing procedures, belay procedures, buddy checks, commands, and responses. After the webinar, there will be a live quiz. Prizes will be given to first, second, and third places, including gift certificates to Ramble Raven and 3 GSI water bottles. Enjoy! While we're going to be showing you all of the aforementioned procedures, we must insist that you be trained in person by certified climbing instructors. Please do not try anything you see here on your own without further instruction. We are trained professionals.
This is one of the 2 common harnesses that you will see. It is called a double backing harness, and I'll show you why that is in just a second. So this is the waistband right here. You're going to take this, pass it behind your back. You're going to take this end and pass it through the opposite side from where the other strand is. Pull it tight, make sure your shirt is underneath. Then you're going to pass it through the other little hole. As you can see, it still says danger. That's where the double back comes in. Because right now, if you fall in this, it will not support you. So you need to take the running end, the strand, and pass it back over and pull it tight, like so. And make sure your waist is nice and tight. And then you've successfully double backed, and this can bear weight. You're going to do the same thing with your legs, okay? You're going to place it on the front of your leg, pass it behind, put the running end through there, follow it back over, and as you can see, this one also says danger, so you need to double it back, now that one is ready and can bear weight. Now you need to do the same thing on this other side. You're going to pass it underneath, feed it through both sides, make sure it's nice and snug, then pass it back through. Then you have successfully double backed a 3rd time, and your harness is ready. This is currently the most popular harness you will see currently. It is the auto-locking harness. It locks itself between 2 pieces of metal, and that's how it secures for the waist. For the leg loop, it's just a little auto tightener, and it just has tension. Okay, so the way you're going to put this one on, you're going to make sure that it's right side up. The leg loops are in the right orientation. They're not crossed. They're not upside down. You're going to make sure they're in the right orientation. You're going to place it on the ground. So you can see this one's upside down. So I'm going to make sure that it's right side up and in the right orientation. I'm going to place it like this, where you have both individual leg loops open and ready. You're going to place your right foot in, make sure it's underneath everything. You're going to do the same with your left foot. Then you're going to pull up, make sure that your pants or shorts are tucked in, and underneath the leg loops, you're going to pull up the waist, make sure your shirt is tucked in underneath the waist. Then you're going to pull and tighten the waist, and it will automatically lock. You're going to take this and feed it through here to keep that out of the way. You're going to want to make sure that it's nice and snug. The way we do that is 2 fingers inserted at the side, twist, and if you can't keep them right next to each other when you're twisting, then it's the proper tightness. You're going to do the same thing with the legs. You're going to pull to tighten until they are snug. To test the legs, you're going to take 3 fingers, insert them, and it's the same process. And that's how you put on an auto-locking harness.
So before we get to our knots, I'm going to explain a couple more things about our harness. First off, we have our hard points, which are here and here. This is where you're going to attach your rope for your figure 8, so on the climber side, as well as your personal anchoring system or your PAS. Next we have our belay loop, which is this right here, which has a couple bar stitches to make it extra sturdy. This is for your belay device, which is either your GriGri, your ATC, whatever you're using. Next, we have some gear loops. First and foremost, these are not to be weighted. These are for holding any gear that you may take with you while climbing. Firstly, your quick draw, which you can attach one of 2 ways. My favorite is the in to out method. The other way is out to in. Next, you can attach your hollow block, which is used for self-propelling or any other braking needs, just like that. And lastly, this is your PAS, your personal anchor system. Now you're going to go ahead, attach this through both of your hard points, like so. Pull it through, then take the other end and run it through this loop, pulling tight to ensure that it's secure. Now, before we move on, you want to make sure this is dressed so that the loop is not folded over and can't be kinked in any way, which would weaken the PAS. With the other end, you're going to take this carabiner and you can either wrap it outside or, my favorite, under the leg and connect it to one of your gear loops on the other side. Alright, so now that you know how to put your harness on, what we're going to do is we're going to teach you a few knots so that you can get up on the wall. First things first, we're going to teach you the figure 8 and the figure 8 follow through. So to start the figure 8, what you're going to go ahead and do is take this end of your rope that's on the inside of your top rope. You're going to take this in one hand, you're going to outstretch your arm and follow to the other shoulder. This is going to be where you're going to tie your knot. So you're going to go ahead and take that point, you're going to pinch these 2 ropes together just like this. This is your ghost. First thing you're going to do is you're going to choke your ghost and then punch your ghost in the face. This creates your figure 8, which just looks just like this. Now what you're going to go ahead and do is take the tail of that rope after your figure 8, and you're going to go ahead and feed that through both hard points, just like so. What you're going to go ahead and do is feed that rope back through, or follow it through. Now you're going to go ahead and continue following this through until it's completed one more time. Once it's followed through, you're going to go ahead, dress your knot, which basically just means make it clean. Now to double check that your knot is safe, you're going to go ahead and do a couple things. You're going to go ahead and count the number of pairs of rope. So you're going to start like this: 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. That means that your knot is successfully tied and safe to use. The next thing you're going to cover is go ahead and check that you have about this much slack or extra rope after your knot. And that is just a hang loose sign away. Now once you've weighted this knot, it becomes a little hard to untie. So one easy trick is to grab both sides of it and push together, which loosens the knot, as you can see. Then you're going to go ahead, grab the tail end of the rope, pull out, and follow back through, untying it. Pull out of your hard points, and you can untie the regular figure 8 as well. The next thing we're going to show you how to do is tie a figure 8 on a bite. Firstly, a bite is a loop in the rope provided by a knot tied underneath it, like so. Now to do a figure 8 on a bite, you're going to take a bite just like this. You're going to go ahead, bend it over just like we showed you earlier, pinch the ends, and tie around. So, I'm going to go ahead, pinch these around, choke your ghost, and punch him in the face, pulling tight into your figure eight with a very long bite. The next thing we're going to show you how to do is tie a double barrel fisherman's knot into a Prusik loop. You're going to start off by taking your two ends, facing them opposite each other and next to each other, just like this, giving them a good amount of space in between. You're going to go ahead and take the first end, wrap it around once, twice, going behind both loops and back through. This creates your double barrel fisherman's, which looks just like this. You should have an X on one side so that you know you tied it correctly. Next, what you're going to do is turn this around so that you're tying the exact same knot in the same orientation. Repeat those steps. So wrap once, and twice, and now back through both loops. In order to tighten, what you're going to do is pull these together. Each knot will tighten the other knot, so it can never become untied on its own. To ensure that you've tied your knot correctly and your loop correctly, you're going to make sure that your X's are on the same side, just like this. Now, in order to make sure you have enough slack, you're going to go ahead, tip these towards each other, and make sure you can make them touch. This loop, or another loop called a hollow block, can be used to tie Prusik, which we'll get to in just a moment. The Prusik loop, which we just learned, or a hollow block, can be used to tie a Prusik hitch, which is where you take this, just like this, wrap it around once, twice, and 3 times, dress your knot so that the bottom loop is on the outside, and pull tight. Now, with this Prusik hitch, you don't want this knot at the base. So what you can do to easily adjust this is to twist these in opposing directions so that your knot is not on the center. Now you can pull tight. Similarly, this can be done with a hollow block. In this case, this connection right here being the knot. Go ahead, wrap it around once, twice, and 3 times. Pull tight and dress your knot. And again, you don't want the knot or the connection to be the center of your loop, so just adjust accordingly. Now, the use of this hitch is for breaking or stopping on a rope of appropriate size. So make sure to do your research on the width of your rope and the width of your accessory cord or hollow block. The way this hitch works is when tugged on, it won't move. However, if you apply some pressure from the sides, you can slide it easily up and down the rope, working on both this and the hollow block. The next thing we're going to show you how to do is a clove hitch. The difference between a hitch and a knot is that a hitch is not actually tied tight. So if you take your carabiner or whatever you're using to block the rope from coming undone, the knot will come undone. So a clove hitch is very simple. All you're going to do is go ahead and take this rope just like this, create a cross in your rope just like this, and do the exact same thing, the exact same direction one more time. Now you're going to take the loop in your left hand, cross it behind the one in your right hand, and now you can go ahead and take a carabiner like this one, put it in between both loops at the same time, and close it, and that creates your clove hitch, just like that. The last knot we're going to teach you is what's called an overhand on a bite. A lot of you have done this before when tying your shoes or things like that. The only difference is this is going to be on a bite or that loop like we showed you before. All you're going to do is create a little bend in the rope and tie a regular knot. So you're going to go ahead and cross it just like this and follow through. Very simple, but very effective. So, as you can see, I've got a few different carabiners here. Each of these carabiners has a different closing or locking mechanism. We'll start off with a wire gate carabiner, which doesn't actually lock, but just closes. These don't lock, but they do hold rope in as long as you don't backclip them, which we'll get to later. Next, we've got what's called a black diamond magnetron, which actually uses magnets to keep it locked. The way you open this is you're going to go ahead, press in on both of these blue sections right here, which undoes the magnets, and then pull back, just like that. Now we've got what's called a screw gate carabiner. The reason it's called a screw gate carabiner is because this screws to locked position and unscrews to your unlocked position. So when unlocked, it opens just like so. When you lock it, there's a very audible clicking sound, which means it's locked. Similarly, we've got this screw gate carabiner, but you can see it's a little different. This one is particularly for belaying, so your belay device, either your GriGri or your ATC, goes in this section so that it doesn't move and cross-load your belay device. Same thing, screws closed, unscrews to unlock. Lastly, we've got what's called a auto-locking carabiner. On this particular model, you just twist and pull back to open it. When you close, you can hear that very loud click, which means it is locked and it's not going anywhere. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and show you how to tie your rope in to your ATC and then your GriGri. First things first, you're gonna go ahead, grab your ATC and your carabiner. Go ahead, separate the two for now. Next thing you're gonna do is go ahead, take a look at your ATC. This specific model has some teeth down here, which will help with braking. Those teeth should be on the downside or the tail end of the rope. The other end of the rope, or going up towards the top of your top rope, will come out this side right here. To insert the rope into the ATC, you're gonna go ahead and create a bend in your rope with the tail end facing down and the top end facing up. You're gonna go ahead and push this through on your dominant side. So if you're right-handed, that's the right side, left-handed, your left side. You're gonna match this back loop with this black loop right here. And go ahead, take your carabiner, put it through both of those loops, make sure that closes. Next, you're gonna go ahead, take your carabiner, put it through your belay loop, close it, and make sure it locks. You can make sure it locks by doing a quick click check or a buddy check as well. That's gonna look like this. All right, so now we're gonna show you how to load a GriGri. It's the same method for both the GriGri 2 and the GriGri Plus. What you're gonna go ahead and do is look on the outside of your GriGri for these decals right here, which show you which side of the rope goes where. The decal is also located on the inside of your GriGri, just so you don't get confused. What you're gonna go ahead and do is take your climb rope on the climbing side, you're gonna put it in just like this, wrap it around and through, making sure it looks like this in the end. Climber side going up on this side, tail side going out, just like that. Now that you've loaded it, you're gonna go ahead, close that door, preventing the rope from slipping out, and take a belay carabiner like this, go through this, making sure you're going through both holes. Then you're gonna go ahead, twist the carabiner around so that your belay device is on this small end. Now you can go ahead, attach this to your belay loop, and screw to lock.
So now I'm going to walk you through the GriGri Plus. That's the one we have here at the Eastern Rock Gym. So as you can see, it also has that little decal to show you which side goes where, but there are a few differences in this model versus this model, the one that Michael showed you a moment ago. So you load it the same way, it has the little decal in there. Climber side, which is going up, goes in this side, and then the belay side or the brake side is going to go over and onto that side. Going to close it and then lock it through both holes with the carabiner. This is another belay carabiner with a little tail to prevent it from cross-loading. You're gonna put it in that side and then clip it to yourself. And they both have an auto camming mechanism to break it when the person falls. The main difference between these two, well, there are two main differences between these two. One of them is on this one, you have a little toggle switch between sport lead and top rope, which makes, for sport lead, makes it easier to give slack. On top rope, makes it a little harder to give slack. The second main difference is on this one, you have this solid piece of metal right here. And that is what is used to lower when the cam is weighted. It pushes against that, and that's how you lower. This one is a little bit more dangerous for beginning climbers because you can lower too fast. This one, on the other hand, when it is weighted, you'll see this extra little piece of metal down here, and it moves. That does the same thing as the other piece of metal. It offers the push to lower, but if you go too fast, it won't let you lower anymore. So then you just reset and keep lowering again.
One more thing to remember is when using any of your climbing devices, especially your GriGri, you need to inspect them before each use. This is because of the complexities of all your climbing devices. When inspecting a GriGri, what you want to do is go ahead, open it like so, make sure everything is nice and clean. As you can see, this GriGri could use a little cleaning right there. Little dirt on the finger. What you want to do is go ahead, clean that out, look for any obvious cracks, and then you're going to go ahead, turn it onto the other side, look right over here, check that it still cams, and that there's no shattered or broken parts. Similarly, with your GriGri Plus, you want to go through just about the same procedure, taking extra care to check that the additional moving parts are also in good condition and are not going to be a danger to you or your climber. So again, go ahead, open your door, check that it probably needs a good cleaning, little dust, nothing too bad. No obvious cracks, however. Then go ahead and check your other side. Make sure that's all camming correctly, and make sure all of these little metal bits aren't cracked, scratched, bent, or damaged in any other way.
So to lower on the GriGri, you're going to start by taking the rope back over this little metal piece right here. And you're going to place it on your hip, keeping your brake hand on it at all times. Then you're going to pull this little lever back and slowly start pulling in, letting in slack, and watching your climber as they descend.
All right, so now that we've learned how to lower on a GriGri, we're going to show you how to lower on an ATC. When on an ATC, in order to brake, you want to make sure both hands are below and center. Lowering isn't too much different, it's just a bit of a shuffle. So what you're going to go ahead and do is lower your bottom hand, loosen your grip, allow it to meet, repeat. Just like this, over and over and over again until your climber's on the ground. So we've showed you almost all the gear that we need to show you for you guys to climb. There's one more thing we need to show you though. That's a quick draw, all right? Quick draws come in many different shapes and sizes, like this black diamond quick draw, for example, or this Trango. But there's a few consistencies that go through all quick draws. First, your rock side carabiner. The rockside carabiner is signified by this long, large, loose loop, which lets this carabiner swing and adjust to your climbing. That loop is on what's next, the dog bone. The dog bone is a piece of tubular webbing that has been bar stitched so it's rated for dynamic falls. And lastly, your rope side carabiner. This is signified by a much tighter loop, which is often enclosed by some rubber on the inside, or like on this Trango, on the outside. This piece of rubber keeps this carabiner from moving too much up or down so that it's a little easier for you to clip in. All right, so now that you know the anatomy of a quick draw, I'm going to show you how to attach one to a bowl. As you're climbing or going up your route, you want to clip away from your body and where you're climbing. So if your route leads you to the left, you want to position your body to the left and then clip towards your right, just like so. This make sure your gates are on your right, just like this. The reason you do this is to avoid something called back clipping. Back clipping is where when you clip your rope into your draw, if you were to climb towards the same side as your gate, you could fall, which leads to your rope coming back down on your gate and pulling out just like that, which is not very pleasant, I promise. So, when we go to clip, we always want to make sure our gate is away from where our body and our route leads us. So, in this case, the right. Now, to actually clip your rope in, what you want to do is make sure that the side attached to your harness, right here, is on top. That way you don't do something called Z-clipping, which we aren't going to get to today. What you're going to go ahead and do is make sure that's always on the outside. So what you want to do is grab the back of this carabiner with your thumb, brace the rope with your pointer finger, like so, and feed this rope into the draw. So that way it follows through just like this.
So what we're going to do now is flake the rope. This is to prevent the rope from tangling when the person is climbing or when you are getting ready to climb outdoors or indoors. So what we're going to do is we're going to take one end and we're just going to start feeding it on top of itself. It doesn't have to be super neat. As long as you keep feeding it on top of itself, you will have little to no issues with tangling. One thing, you want to make sure that the bottom of the rope, which is right there, is always visible and not covered. And now this rope is flaked and ready to be used. Okay, we're going to be a little bit more muffled right now. Since we're in closer proximity, me and Michael have put on our masks. We're going to now go through a proper buddy check, starting with the belayer, Michael.
All right, so for our buddy check, what I'm going to go ahead and do is going to go through what you should check on your climber as the belayer to make sure that they are safe before they even get close to that wall. So first thing you're going to go ahead and do is you're going to go ahead and make sure that your harness is tightened safely. So for that, you're going to go ahead and take 2 fingers width in your waist straps and 3 fingers in your leg straps. Make sure that's pretty snug, and that makes sure that harness is nice and tight on you. Next thing you're going to go ahead and do is take your rope. Make sure that it is put through both hard points, there and there. Following that, you're going to go ahead and make a fist with one hand. You're going to try and put it through that loop. If you can fit that fist through that loop, that means it's a little too loose and you're going to need to retie in. As it is, it looks pretty good. Next, you're going to go ahead and count your 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. So 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. Following that, and to finish off the climber side of the buddy check, you're going to go get your hang loose going to check the amount of slack that you have at the end of their figure 8 follow through. Now, on the belayer side, what you're going to do to go ahead and prove that they are safe is you're going to go ahead do a quick inspection of your gear as it's set up. So you're going to make sure that the climber side is up and away from your teeth, that the tail of the rope or the belayer side is down and in that teeth section right there that we talked about earlier. Then you're going to go ahead, take a little slack so that they can feel that tightness on their end so they know that you've got them. And finally, you're going to go ahead, do a little quick check right here to let them know that you're locked. Now, this carabiner should always be in your belay loop and no other loop. That's the only proper place for it on your harness. All right, so we're doing some top rope climbing right here. I'm just going to go ahead and explain what we're doing. So we've already explained how to do a buddy check. We're just going to perform one really quickly. Then I go ahead and he's going to start climbing up, and we'll take a fall, and then we'll have him climb up again, and we'll do a lower. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and show you everything I've got going here. So we're going to check. I've got this through my belay loop, that my carabiner is locked, that the climber side is up, tail side is down.
Yep.
And I've done something that I personally like to do, which is tie a safety knot at the end of the rope. That way the rope can't come through my belay device very end.
Hips and legs.
And hip, or sorry, legs and hips.
Okay.
Solid.
All right, well, my hips are tight and my legs are tight. I put the fist through. I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And I have a handy sign of tail and I'm through both hard points.
Looks good to me.
All right.
All right.
Okay. Now we're going to go through the commands for climbing, which it's going to start with am I on belay or on belay?
And then I will respond with, if the belay is on, then I'm going to say belay is on.
Yep.
If not, then I'm going to say belay is not on, do not climb.
Okay, so on belay.
Belay is on.
Okay. Then I'm going to ask if I can climb, and he's going to let me know whether or not I can climb. Then once I get up there, if I fall, he's going to catch me. If I make it to the top, which right now we're just going to head to the red line as the top, and I'm going to say take, which means for him to take all of the slack out of the system, so I can sit down and let him take all the weight, and I can let go of the wall. And then once I do that, if I want to come down, I'm going to say lower, and he's going to start lowering. Okay, so on belay.
Belay is on.
All right, climbing.
Climb on.
All right, now we're going to say I'm at the top of the wall. So take.
Gotcha.
Okay, now I'm going to let go of the wall. And he is going to hold my weight until I say lower. And then he's going to lower me down. So, lower.
Lowering.
And if you watch closely while I was going up, he was using the plus or P-bus method of belaying, which is pull, lock, under, and slide, or pull, break, under, and slide. Okay, and so we're going to do that one more time. I'm going to fall, so he can show you the proper method of catching, which is right down in front of you. Okay, on belay.
Belay is on.
Climbing.
Climb on. Now that we've taught you these climbing procedures, we still must insist that you be trained in person by a certified climbing instructor. Please do not try anything you see here on your own without further instruction. We are trained professionals. Before we go to our live Q&A, I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. I'd also like to thank our partners, Ramble Gear Trader and Eastern Washington University Rockwall, for their time and resources. Now, to access our live Q&A, please click the link in the description below.